are now speaking to the outgoing Speaker of the Children's Parliament, Honorable Giovanni Britz. We are going to talk to him about what the role of the Children's Parliament is. Good morning, Honorable Giovanni. Thank you for accepting our invite to talk to NAMPA News. Could you please tell us what the role of the Children's Parliament is?
Okay, let me start off by saying that the Children's Parliament is basically an advisory body. We debate and discuss issues surrounding and involving the youth, in particular school-going children. The role of the Children's Parliament is basically to link the ideas or link the issues that the youth or children are facing with the top guys, if I may, with the senior parliamentarians. And what happens is the motions that we discuss and that we debate in the chamber are submitted to the senior parliament, whereby they look at it, they take it under consideration, and they are guided by those motions or by those ideas that we give forward when they ultimately draw up the legislature or implement certain policies.
Thank you, Honorable Britz. Can you also perhaps tell us what topics will be discussed this year in this year's sessions during the Children's Parliament?
I had the privilege of sitting in yesterday while the incoming MPs were sort of practicing, and I'd just like to start off by saying that we have very good debaters this year, and a motion that came up in the practice sessions with teenage pregnancies. And I know it has been an exhausted motion, but by hearing and by listening to them, I could hear that they have new ideas on it. Other motions that came up were obviously abortion, whether or not it should be legalized. I know it's also been an exhausted topic in Namibia. But like I said, this year we have very capable debaters, and I think that perhaps not even if they don't convince us that, say, for example, abortion should be legalized, they will be able to give us some food for thought on that matter.
How are they chosen? How from the different regions?
Okay. What happens is that the Secretariat of the Parliament, they delegate the tasks to the regional directors. So what then happens is they have the discretion to choose however way, but the common ways of nominating or of choosing MPs are, for example, obviously the academic background has to be good. They have to be involved. Some of them are involved in other organizations prior to the Children's Parliament. And what I've also seen that's being done is that they're asked to write and submit essays regarding or essays based on why they should be basically in the Children's Parliament. But basically what's done in my case, what happened was I was head boy at my school. My academic background was relatively good, it was okay. And yeah, basically the skills that you need to be a junior parliamentarian or a children's parliamentarian is just, the pressures are a lot. So your academic background has to be good, and you need to be able to debate, you need to be able to discuss, you need to be able to think on your toes, because if you sit into the sessions, you will see that some of the questions that come up here, you don't really have time to go and research them, you don't really have time to think about it. So yeah, you need to be witty.
Okay. Honorable Britz, what were your highs and lows during your term as Speaker of the Children's Parliament?
Personally for me, during my term as Speaker, the high was the education conference in year 2011, where I was asked to give a presentation on the voice of the Namibian child. And first of all, I had never, prior to that, stood up in front of a crowd over 100 people. And in that hall, it was about 500 people plus. So that was definitely a high for me. I got to meet an inspiration, a role model of mine, which is Professor Joseph Tisho, very smart man. Lows, I would say, would be just the pressures of being in the limelight, or the pressures of being in the public eye. People do not always, if something comes up, people do not always want to know your side of the story. They make their own assumptions. when there are functions, you have to give up a lot of your time. As I was telling the former or the incoming MPs, that you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of your time, a lot of your study time, a lot of your sleep. It'll even cut into extramural activities, other extramural activities. So highs, I would definitely say, just being able to work with different organizations, such as the UNICEF, such as the Ministry of Gender Equality, the Ministry of Education, lows the work, the work part of it.
Thank you, Honorable Britz, for speaking to NAMPA TV. This year's Children's Parliament will be discussing interesting topics such as teenage pregnancies and abortions. I am Sawi Hausikulutivezi, reporting for NAMPA TV, WINDHOEK.